I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, are these pillows comfortable enough to fall asleep on? And let me tell you, they are. Here's where I show you how to get $1 million listing, whether it's your first or it's multiple, and you create consistency. Here we go. I've outlined these for you, so pay attention, start writing them down, take notes. This is good. All from personal experience. The first thing that comes to mind is mindset. I know we start with this all the time, but it really makes a massive difference. And I'll take you through my story a little bit on mindset. So when I first started in real estate and I was exposed to these $1 million areas, I thought, well, this is a possibility. This is pretty cool. I think I can do this. And it was off of one open house that I did that wasn't even my listing, but I got to canvas the area. At the time, I door knocked and I dropped these little flyers off, and I got a call back a few days later. And it was from this home. They were just, hey, this is the address. We got your flyer. We want to see if you can stop by, take a look at the home, and just pitch us how you would sell our home. So I said, great, I'll do it. And I hung up. I looked up the address. It ends up being $4 million. And I go to the listing appointment. I do prepare. I get everything ready. I dress up, tie, suit, everything. I'm in my early mid-20s. And I show up, I tour the home, I sit down, and I am sweating. I'm literally sweating. And I know that they can see that I'm sweating. All right. It's my first $1 million listing appointment, and it ends up being $4 million, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm talking, and everything I think is kind of going okay. And then they ask me a question, and they're like, so Tristan, this is good, right? We like this. So can you tell us why we would pay you over $100,000 in commission? That was one question I wasn't prepared for. So in my head, I gave the only logical answer, and that was because that's the commission. And I smiled, and I didn't get the listing. And so I tell you that story because it set me back a few years. And when I reanalyzed where I was a few years later, I thought, why haven't I broken into the $1 million price range? What am I not doing? And I realized that I had let that particular experience set me back. And I believed that in my head, and it was an unspoken thing, it was just in my head, that this wasn't for me. And I turned that around, but it did take years. And so the moment I realized, hey, let's give this another shot, it is for me, I started to turn it around. And I started to write that narrative for myself. So it's really important that you really analyze where you're at and see, is this something that you really want? Is it something that's for you? Is it something you really want to take hold of and do? Then yes, this is for you. Number 2, work on your skills. So the moment that I realized, hey, I'm going to go in this world and I'm going to do this right, I needed to start looking at the world like the people I'm going to be helping, like they were looking at the world. And so I outlined a few things here for you because you need to get to know this world a little better, right? And here's some of the things that you need to look at. Number 1, you need to start reading books that help you understand this world better. There is one book that comes to mind that I read 2 or 3 times, and it's on my bookshelf here. It's called Selling Luxury Homes by Jack Cotton. So shout out to Jack Cotton if he's listening in. Definitely pick that one up. So pick up books and do what I do when I read. Do me a favor, topic stack. If you're going to go all in on luxury, make sure that you get the top 5 books on selling to luxury clients and read them all. Because one thing I do know, when we read as humans, we typically read more than one book at a time. So if you have all those books around the same topic, it's going to drill in even more, right? And that's topic stacking. I learned that from the CEO of Instagram, so use that. Next thing is reports. Download reports, look at reports that tell you about the luxury markets. There's a great report you can get. It comes out every year. It's a report by Douglas Elliman, and you can go to their website, download it. It shows you all of the high net worth individuals, and it doesn't show you all of them, but it shows you some of them, but it does show you trends, and it's important to understand those trends. So I would read that every year, and then learn about architecture, because as you go deeper into this, you understand that a lot of the luxury clients you're helping, they're big on architecture. They need to know that you understand that world as well. And for those particular areas that you're going to target, you also need to dive into, well, who designed this? Who designed that? What is this called? Ooh, this is interesting. Who are the top architects in the area? Go deep on that. Next is vacation spots. Yeah, believe it or not, they love vacationing, and they love to know what the coolest vacation spots are. But when you're talking to these high net worth individuals, you need to know about these areas, or at least understand where they're going, right? So understand this world a little deeper, sharpen those skills, sharpen that knowledge. That's number 2. All right, number 3, here's where we get into, well, how do you break into this market? And the way that I did it first was with what I was great at. So the ones that follow are in no particular order. They can go in any order you want based on your strengths. My strength was picking up the phone and calling, because my background is telemarketing. I used to sell windows and ink cartridges. I was like, hey, how are you doing? Do you want to buy ink cartridges? Do you want new windows in your home? Yeah, that was me. So I naturally went to calling expireds. And my very first luxury listing was off of an expired. And so when you call up expireds, you are targeting areas that are luxury areas, right? What an easy way to do it if you're great at it, right? And so think about this. You pick those areas that have price ranges that you want to break into, and you start calling them routinely. And it's just going to happen that every once in a while, if you call enough and your skills are great, they're going to pick up and say, stop by, show me what you got. Expireds. I love expireds. Next is for sale by owners. And it's the exact same thing. And yes, I've listed for sale by owner luxury homes, and we've sold them as well. It's the same concept, but for me, it fell in that order. Expireds, because I'm great on the phone. Then for sale by owners, because I'm great on the phone. And so if those two don't match for you, go on to the next one. But first, for sale by owners, when you're reaching out to them, remember, there are 2 personality types when it comes down to for sale by owners. One is a driver, the other one is an analytical. So know that going in, any for sale by owners, not just luxury. You're gonna go in and say, well, chances are this person thinks they can sell it on their own because they're smart enough and they don't need to pay anybody, right? That's either gonna be a driver or an analytical. Analytical is gonna know exactly what to do, so they're gonna feel like they don't need your services. So know that those are the 2 types of personalities. That's for sale by owners. The next one, which is number 5 on the total list, is mailers. Now, you're going to be mailing to luxury areas. We mail to luxury areas, and you'd be surprised how many times we get a phone call from a postcard. There was one time we went to one after leasing a $100,000 a month house in Malibu on PCH. We mailed out to the surrounding areas, and we get a call off of a postcard. When we get to the home, it's on the beach. It's worth about $13 million. And the first thing that they have, that we see that they have in their hand, is the postcard. And then they look down on it. They look at us, because it was me and my business partner, and they said, "Oh, you look just like the postcard." I'm like, "Oh, was I not supposed to?" So, change your pictures, make sure you look good. And so we go in and we do, a lot of the times you think, well, we do a presentation, and we don't. We sit through, we listen, we want to know what's important to them, and we just have a conversation with them. And so postcards work. Just make sure that you're doing it consistently, off of just listed, just sold, and more importantly, pick an area where you can consistently farm to, that you can send them information that's valuable, like places they could go on vacation to, books you've read, things that are happening in the area, best parks in my area, best beaches, things to do, things that's important to them. Number 6, open houses. Yeah, one of my friends, Santiago Arana, some of you know him from the agency. He's out in Beverly Hills and in Malibu. That's how he got started. I mean, Google him and find those interviews that he's done. You can see that he started his massive, amazing luxury career from open houses. He would sit these open houses, multi-million-dollar open houses in Beverly Hills. He would get to know the inventory of what's available and what's coming out next. And he would lock in clients by being valuable to them when he engaged with them during the open houses. And I've done the same thing. I mean, the very first story I told you here off of door knocking around a neighborhood was from an open house. So I just used it to door knock, right? But open houses are absolutely amazing. I know in some areas you can't do that right now because of COVID, but once COVID is downgraded and we're doing better, definitely take that up and make that part of your routine. Number 7, online leads. So one of the things that I did going into the areas that I cover is I did a SWOT analysis, and I thought, well, let's find out where I can break in and what are the weaknesses from the agents that are dominating these areas. And when I did a SWOT analysis, I understood, whoa, a lot of agents are going online here. So I went in on Google pay-per-click and Facebook lead ads on top of farming. And this has allowed us to break into these areas because, look, I'm in Malibu and in the surrounding areas. And in Malibu, there's an agent out here. A lot of you know him. His name's Chris Cortazzo. He's a great agent and he's a nice guy, right? So it's hard not to like him. But he dominates the area. And so a lot of the phone calls I was making and connections I was making, they would say, well, you know, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to go with Chris, or I know somebody, because it's a very small community. And so what we did is we're like, well, let's take advantage of that on our end and start looking at the people that are moving in, buyers from out of the area. And so we took a different approach, and that's how we started breaking in to these areas, into these luxury areas. We picked the people that were moving in from outside of the area. And so this is what we do on Google and Facebook. So know that there is a strategy behind it, and just make sure if you go that route, because we just closed 2 transactions in the last 3 months, over 10 million from Google PPC and Facebook. Google PPC is Google pay-per-click. And it's just a matter of knowing how to nurture them, knowing how to talk to them on the phone, and coming from a point of giving value back to them consistently. All right, my friend Adam Frank calls it's a barbecue method. I'm like, what's the barbecue method? He's like, well, it's slow and steady. Slow and steady. I was like, that's brilliant. I'm gonna use the barbecue method from now on. So it's the barbecue method on all of your online leads. Number 8, and this is the last one. This is something that you can do at the end. Remember, this is in no order. I started with expireds and for sale by owners because that's where I'm great at, right? I'm great on the phone. You can start somewhere else. But the last one here is join clubs. And I wrote this down here because this is the one I did at the end. It's not something that I did at the beginning. I didn't lead with this, but you can. That's join clubs and be where the affluent people are. So country clubs, bars, lounges, clubs. I mean, there are cigar lounges, there are car clubs. There are just a lot of different types of clubs where affluent people hang out. And you have to find those places. If you have friends that belong to them, go with them. If you have the money to invest and you want to go that route, do it. Just make sure that you actually use that membership, because I know some people who say, yeah, I'm going to join it. And then they never end up going. And that's a big waste of money. So let's go through this and repeat the 8 ones. First, mindset. Do not overlook that. Most important one. Number 2, skills. Work on your skills. Number 3, Go in with expireds. Number 4, for sale by owners. Number 5, mailers. Number 6, open houses whenever you can have open houses. Number 7, online leads. Number 8, join clubs, participate, get social in that world. And then number 9, whatever it is for you. I know I'm missing 1 or 2 or 3, so that's why I added number 9. Fill in the blank. It's up to you. Have an awesome day. Thank you again. This one's a little longer, but I appreciate you. And do me a favor and subscribe, and I'll keep on bringing the fire.